So are small fleets currently running at a loss? That's the question that we're trying to answer in this video, and I will prove to you whether they are or are not. Again, the national average for fuel right now is 4.03 cents per gallon. Interest rates are at an all-time high both for used and new equipment. Fleet insurance has skyrocketed over the last 2 or 3 years. The cost of used equipment has plummeted, and the cost of new equipment is still holding its value. But worst of all, the national freight rates at an all-time low, as a national average right now at 2.01 cents per mile. That's what fleets are running for. All right, so for you nerds that are like me, follow along with me and let's calculate this together. All right, so our fleet's running at a loss. So currently you can see here for the month of March, the national average for freight rates in the van division is 2.01 per mile. In February it was 2.06, but right now we are at an all-time low. You can see here December, January, February, and March. It keeps getting worse and worse. So national averages are 2.01 per mile. Fuel, $4.03 per gallon is the national average right now for fuel. So let's go into our Excel sheet. So I love this. Why? Because here it says that the van national average, 2.01 per mile, multiply that by 11,000 miles. So $22,110 is the gross earnings for a driver. Now, small fleets or larger fleets, I mean, this is really what we like to have. We like to have about 11,000 miles. Obviously, more than 11 is great, but the formulas usually go off of 11,000 miles. Now, drivers pay. You can get drivers today for 65 cents per mile. Now, if a driver is driving 11,000 miles, their pay is about $71.50. Now, anybody that's on payroll that is getting paid a pay stub and taxes are being withdrawn from them, so not the driver Inc. model and not the 1099 model in the US, the company is paying a portion. It's about 15%. It depends what state you're in or what province you're in. The company pays for 15%, which is their portion of it that they pay to the government. So not only do you get the $71.50 and taxes are being deducted from you, but also the company pays another portion of taxes. CPP, EU, and EI is what we pay for, which comes out to about 15%. Next, we'll talk about is fuel. So the fuel, like we saw, the national average is 4.03 cents per gallon. Now, if you take this chart over here, I'll bring it into the frame. So you have here different types of trucks on the top. We have the flat nose trucks, and all the way to the right, which is the very aerodynamic trucks. Those are trucks that will probably have the diesel or the battery pack APU units. Our fleet right now is currently running at about 8.4 miles per gallon, which is an average of our fleet. So we're more on the right-hand side. I know that a lot of people out there are probably in the 6 to 6.5. The companies that I consult are all in the range of 6 till the highest I've seen is about 7 miles per gallon. We'll take right now 57 cents per mile, which would be our national average, or what it would cost us to run a mile if we had a truck that is 7 miles per gallon. Now, if your truck is doing 6 miles per gallon, then obviously it's costing you about 10 cents more for every single mile. So now we'll go back to the Excel sheet, and if the driver is currently running at 7 miles per gallon, his fuel for the month is going to be $6,270, okay? The next thing we're going to talk about is the dispatch fees. So a lot of companies right now, small fleets, are using dispatch services, okay? So a lot of companies out there have opened up, I see more and more of these companies of dispatch services, where it's companies that basically find you loads. They take about 3, 4, 5, or 6%. Over here, I took 4%. Now, if you are thinking of a dispatch course, for those of you that want to learn how to dispatch, we have actually come up with a dispatch course ourselves that is coming out approximately April 15. It is 9 modules and it is about 10 hours long, and you can do it at the comfort of your own home at your own pace. Okay, there's currently about 1,500 people that are interested or that have filled out the forms. If you are interested in thinking of doing a dispatch course, you can find more information. I'll link it down below, both to the form, and also I will link in a 30-minute session where I invited about 150 people to pick my brain about the dispatch course, all about the dispatch course, the modules, the hours, I mean, what it costs, everything you need to know about it. I will link it down below. And yes, there is a step-by-step guide on how to book loads and all the paperwork that's involved, profitability and the technology that we use, and how to book the loads and regulations out there, and starting up your own small fleet. So if you are thinking of a dispatch course, make sure you find out more information about that. Now, insurance. As we all know, insurance is on the rise as bigger settlements are happening out there. So maybe 10 years ago, settlements would probably be around $30, $40, $50,000. Today, you're getting settlements in millions of dollars, and that's why you keep seeing the insurance going up and up and up with every year. So the insurance that I took here is $1,500 for insurance. I have seen the fleets that I've consulted, I have seen $1,600, $1,700, and $1,800 monthly fees per truck, and I've also seen the $1,100, $1,200 per truck. The next thing we'll talk about is the truck. So truck payments, about approximately $2,500. I've seen crazy truck payments at about $4,400, $4,500, and that's just a recipe for disaster. I have seen smaller payments. I've seen drivers that have paid off their trucks, but I would say here that I would put about $2,500 in a truck payment. And then we have a trailer payment, about $750. I mean, I've seen more, I've seen less, but $750 we'll put here. Registration, $166. And guys, the answer that we're trying to get basically is at the bottom. Is there going to be anything left after all these deductions? These are realistic deductions and fees that small fleets have. So we have registration, about $166. Those are your plates per month. The next line item is a factoring fees. So there are factoring companies. The ones that we use, I mean, the ones that we recommend are eCapital and OTR. I think those are the two best out there. If you are looking to get any, feel free to reach them. But those are the ones that we would recommend. So factoring fees, approximately, I would say 2.5%. That's $442 as a deduction. The next line item here is tolls and bridges. So I took an average of about $400 a month. Now there are load boards. Load boards, depending on how many you have, I mean, you can get away with just one. We use here DAT and LoadLink. Those are our go-to load boards that we use on a constant basis. Every dispatcher here in our office has 2 load boards, and that's what we teach also through our dispatch course, is how to use those 2 load boards. If you are in the US, you're probably not going to need the LoadLink. You're just going to need the DAT. I put another $500 here for fees for other. This can be your office supplies, whatever expenses you have. There's a lot more expenses than just the insurance. There's a lot of miscellaneous expenses, so I put $500 there. Next thing we're going to talk about is parking. So parking is becoming more and more expensive. When I started in the industry here in Concord, the fees for parking spots here in Concord used to be $150 or $200. Today, here in the GTA, they're about $500. I've seen $600 and $700 in parking. Now, if you are looking for parking in any one of our locations, we do have excess parking, whether here in Concord in the GTA, or if you're looking for parking in the Maritimes, which is in Moncton, New Brunswick, or if you need parking in Atlanta, Georgia. So we have parking facilities. If you are looking for some space, whether it's 5, 10, 12 trucks, or if you have 2 or 3 trucks and you're looking for the space, please feel free either to fill out a form below or to reach me at sponsorship@ettransport.ca and let me know your needs. Now, the $1 million question is what's left at the end of the deduction. So here you can see that the total deductions is $21,985, and then the profit left for whoever owns this truck is a measly $124. Okay, now you might think that this is a profit, but it's actually not profit, because there's a lot of things that happens as fleet owners and small fleets. Number one is what happens if your truck is standing and you don't have a driver. Well, a lot of these expenses, I mean, you're still paying for the insurance, the cost for the truck, the cost for the trailer, the registration, your load board fees. There's a lot of these things. Yeah, you're not going to pay the driver, you're not going to pay the fuel, but a lot of these fees you are still going to consume. So you are going to go into a loss if you don't have a driver. So what happens if your driver is sick and cannot work the entire 11,000 miles? So if he only produced 6 or 7 or 8,000 miles, or what happens if your driver went on vacation? Well, guess what? Yes, you are going into a loss. What happens if your truck breaks down and it takes 4 or 5 days to fix it? Well, guess what? You're not producing 11,000 miles and you are going into a loss with today's freight rates, and you're going to be coming out of pocket. So hopefully you saved when the freight rates were $3, $4, and $5 a mile, that you saved for these difficult times. So are small fleet owners currently coming in a loss? Absolutely they are. And I see it more and more through my consultations, and that it's getting harder and harder, because one of the things that we didn't talk about is, yeah, you can do $22,000 in gross revenue, but what happens if one person didn't pay you their invoice, or somebody filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy? Well, guess what? That gives them the right to not pay you that invoice. And if somebody's not paying you that invoice of $1,000 or $2,000, well, you're going straight into a loss for that month. So how long can they carry out these losses? Well, hopefully the freight rates are going to go up, because once it starts getting into 225 and 230, it'll definitely give everybody some breathing room. But for now, I mean, what we can do is we can try to limit the spending as much as we can, and we can definitely try to go through these difficult times together. So that's what this channel is for, and that's what it's about. And hopefully you learn something from this video and understand what small fleets are facing right now with these national averages. I'm Ronen, and I'll catch you in my next video.